Hello, happy Thursday and happy Halloween. Welcome to Mind Shifters Radio and the Aramaic process of forgiveness. I'm your co-host, Michele, and I'm here today with our host, Dr. Tim Hayes. We both warmly welcome you to the show and genuinely appreciate you for listening. Today is October 31st. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to Dr. Tim. We encourage you to share your process, your comments, or questions, because then that makes this your show. So now, let's welcome Dr. Tim in the process of learning and practicing forgiveness.
Thank you, Michele. How are you today?
Oh, I'm excellent today. I got a lot of holiday spirit going on.
Holiday spirit, meaning spooks and goblins?
No, I took some big forgiveness steps today, and so Halloween's my favorite holiday, and it lends itself to the joy and the love, and then I took some steps.
All right, well, congratulations on taking some steps in forgiveness. And if we have anyone new listening, they may have little or no idea what you're talking about, because in our culture, when we're taught about forgiveness, we're taught about the concept of pardoning. Everybody agrees somebody did something horribly wrong and they should be punished, but the bigger party says, okay, I'll pardon you, I will forgive you. But when we use the word forgiveness on this radio show, on this internet show, on this website, we're talking about a tool for going inside myself, a tool that has nothing to do with anyone else or anything else, a tool that acknowledges that what happens to me and around me in my life is nowhere near as important as how I choose to interpret and respond to those events. And it's a choice of how I respond, it's a choice of what I create in my thoughts and my emotions. And the tool of forgiveness is an ancient Aramaic process, at the very least. It may have been around thousands of years before then. But the ancient Aramaics understood that we are creators. The ancient Aramaics understood that we have the infinite capacity to choose the focus of our conscious awareness in each moment, and that the choice of that conscious awareness in each moment creates our experience of life. So the ancient Aramaic language and the people who used it to describe how we work as people in the mind and the body and the emotions and the thoughts, they understood that we are in each moment creating our experience, whether it's happy, sad, scared, hurt, offended, confused. And as such, if we're creating it and something we're creating is uncomfortable, we have the capacity to change it. The tool for doing that specifically is called forgiveness. And it means to dismantle, to cancel, to use my creative conscious force to restore my focus to my true nature as love, and as such create an experience that's loving, that's joyful, that's creative in each moment. Now that's the core tool in this work, and that and other tools are available on the website at www.whyagain.org. And that tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet. In this work, we understand that a reality is something I create. It happens for me only in my mind. And that what's actually happening out in the world, we call that actuality. But what I perceive in my mind from the input that I'm selecting from my eyes and my ears and my physical senses and my tastes That's what I use to create my internal experience, and that's what we're calling reality. So in this work, if you go to the website and you click on the link at the upper left-hand corner that says Start Here, or if you click on the red and white bullseye, it'll take you to a page that has a host of tools. Now at the top of the page, or near the top of the page, there's a link for downloading a copy of Dr. Rice's Chapter 24 from his book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And then there's a link to download a PDF of the most recent 7-step worksheet process. And then there are links for 6 of these radio shows where Dr. Rice and or Jeannie step someone through a worksheet process. So in that, you have more than you would ever need to become proficient and then eventually a master at doing this forgiveness process, applying it to your life on a daily basis if you so choose, to make your life more loving, more peaceful, more compassionate, more joyful, more creative. But if you scroll down, there are a host of other worksheets there. And I thought today we should spend a little time mentioning some of the other worksheets and what their purpose is. In general, each of these worksheets is designed to help expose my unconscious material. Now, let's just talk briefly about one way to think about how the mind is organized, the human mind. And one way to think about it is that the mind is organized into 3 levels: the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious. An example of the conscious is anything that you're feeling physically, emotionally, anything that you're thinking in the moment, anything you're hearing that's registering in your ears and registering in your mind, anything that you're seeing with your eyes that's registering as a picture in your mind. That's the conscious, what you are completely aware of in the moment. The subconscious then is this group of things that you're not focusing on right now, but as soon as someone mentions them or they get triggered or you decide to focus on them, they come to mind easily. So an example might be, what does the front door of your dwelling look like? Well, chances are, prior to my saying that question, if you're listening to this show, you weren't thinking about the front door of your dwelling. But as soon as it's mentioned, you can remember it. You can get a picture of it. Oh, there's a screen door. Oh, my screen door fell off, so it's just the plain white door. Oh, my door is green. Oh, my door has this brass knocker on it. So that would be an example of subconscious material. I'm not thinking of it actively, but it takes the slightest little stimulation for it to pop into my conscious awareness. So, who was your first true love? Well, until I asked that question, you probably weren't thinking about who was your first true love. But for most people, perhaps not all, but for most people, the answer to that question, who was your first true love, will pop right into their mind. So if it does, that means that material, that information stored in their brain cells was stored in an area for easy access, and we call that the subconscious. And then there's the unconscious. And this is just a way to talk about it. It doesn't mean this is how we all are, but there aren't divisions, physical divisions in the brain. But the unconscious material is material that is in my past experience. And for whatever reason, some part of my mind has said, we don't want you to look at this. This is uncomfortable, this is scary, this is painful, this is confusing. So I've added some of my own mind energy to that memory. The sight, the sound, the smell, the physical sensation, the thought, the emotion. And I've said to myself, Tim, this is too much for you to deal with, I'll hide it from you. And I literally put mind energy into keeping it out of my conscious awareness. And that material we would call the unconscious. So most of the tools on this page where it says start here, or if you say start a new life and you click on the red and white bullseye, all of the tools on this page are designed in one way or another to help me get access to the material from my past, my thoughts, my beliefs, my traumatic energies that I'm actively hiding from myself. So there's the reality management worksheet, and then there are other worksheets. There's a worksheet called the, I'm scrolling down for just a minute, the codependency worksheet, and it's from a lecture of Dr. Rice's titled Codependence to Interdependence. And that worksheet helps me outline very clearly how I am, without realizing it, blaming other people for causing what I'm feeling, and how my mind, as a brilliant device tapped into some higher levels of awareness, is trying to give me the perfect advice for me to improve my life. How is it doing that? It's doing that by having me give other people advice. And I tell people in the support group, even though I'm a clinical psychologist, when I'm in a session with someone, if I tell somebody, you know, you really need to do this, this, or this, that is what I need to be doing. Most of the time in my work in therapy, I'm not telling people what to do. I'm not giving direct steps of advice. I'm offering options. I'm reflecting back to them what they've said to me. I'm catching what they've said, arrange it slightly differently, and offer it back to them. But it's rare that I actually say, well, you know, you need to this, this, and this. So if I'm having a good day in my therapy practice and I hear myself saying, you know, you really need to do this, this, or this, there's another part of my mind that says, okay, Tim, where do you need to be doing that in your life as well? Now, chances are it's good advice for the other person too. But if I'm giving anybody else advice, that's my higher consciousness trying to get me to tune into what I most need to do. So there's a worksheet called Codependency Worksheet, and that's what it's there to do, to help me uncover hidden parts of my mind that hold brilliant advice for me on how to make my life better. The next tool that's available is called the commitment. The commitment is a tool for agreeing in a relationship to a higher level of a code of behavior. And the commitment that's offered starts out with a comment that says, I promise to trust you enough to tell you the truth and be true to you. I commit to always be sweetness in your life, to nurture you daily and treat you lovingly, gently, and with respect in my thoughts, words, and actions, whether I'm in your presence or not. Now take a breath and just think about what your relationships would be like if you could actually do that, just that first paragraph of this 3-paragraph commitment in every interaction with every person you deal with. So there's another tool on the website to help me focus on being more of the kind of person I want to be and accessing the unconscious roadblocks in my own mind and my own past experience to living that way. The next tool is called Responsibility Communication Rules, and it comes from a lecture of Dr. Rice's that's titled, Did you hear what I think I said? And he makes a clear distinction in that lecture about the difference between making a statement, communicating with someone, when I'm effectively transferring the message that I know I'm creating my internal realities, my anger, fear, sadness, hurt, shame, confusion, and I understand that everyone else is responsible for creating their internal realities. That would be called responsibility communication. What most of us are taught in this culture is projection communication. You might have heard about projection communication, but you wouldn't have heard it called projection communication. It would just be communication, as in, you made me angry, you hurt my feelings, you offended me, you're responsible for my upset, etc. So there's a tool from that lecture and the worksheet that you can download free off the internet to help you formulate communications that will clarify for you how you're creating your own upset and will put you in a position mentally where you can ask the people who have the best chance of giving you good advice to undo your pain and sadness. You can ask them for advice and actually be in a position where you might be able to listen to it. So that's another effective tool. Then there's the Getting the Stress You Need worksheet that's available there. And it sounds a little odd when you just hear the title of that workshop, Getting the Stress You Need, but the essence of it is that we don't do anything unless we have some kind of a stress. Because the definition for stress in this work is anytime there's a difference between the way I see things and the way I want them to be. And the difference between the way I see things and the way I want them to be is what creates the tension within my mind and my body's energy system that we're calling stress. So Getting the Stress You Need is a whole lecture and then a worksheet about formulating goals, framing them first, asking for help in evaluating them, choosing then after careful consideration whether or not I want to set that goal, learning to be able to maintain that goal, learning to either achieve the goal or at the end of the day actively cancel it with that creative mind energy I was talking about a little earlier. Most of the people on this planet have not heard about the fact that you can frame a goal without setting it. They haven't heard about maintaining a goal, and they haven't heard about canceling a goal if it isn't achieved within a reasonable period. Most of the people on this planet in the cultures that are alive today are taught set goals and achieve them, and set them and achieve them, and set and achieve, and set and achieve. And a huge, very powerfully important part of our intellectual capacity is the ability to frame a goal without setting it, the ability to maintain a goal over time, and the ability to cancel a goal if it's not achieved within a reasonable period. So there's another worksheet. And I'm just getting started, but I wanted to hit this. It's come to me several times over the past couple weeks. We talk most about the reality management worksheet, but there are a host of tools available for free at www.whyagain.org. And if you click on the red and white bullseye or you click on the link that says Start Here, you can download these for free. The other one I want to mention is called a mind shifter. And in this work, a mind shifter is what I refer to as targeted journaling. And it helps me come up with a statement for which I may be holding in my unconscious mind some negative thoughts, some negative energies. And then I write that statement on the left-hand side of a piece of paper, and I set aside some time, an hour or two, where I can be journaling and not be disturbed. And I write the mind shifter on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side of the paper, I just write whatever comes to mind. Some people call it free association, some people call it journaling, some people call it stream of consciousness, but whatever wants to spill out, I just write it, whether it's seemingly related to the mind shifter or not. And then, when I run out of things to write on the right side of the page, I take the very same words that were in my mind shifter and write them again. And in this way, I'm adding energy to the statement and the material within my mind and body's energy system that might want to resist it, until eventually, if that material is in the unconscious, it has so much energy added to it that it bursts through the barrier. It bursts through my mind energy saying, don't look at this, and it spills out on the page. Sometimes it spills out on the page, and I don't even recognize it as important until the second, third, or 14th time that I read it. But the point is, I have energies, thoughts, beliefs, and traumatic energies within me that are blocking me from staying focused on my true nature as the energy of creation and the energy of love. And all of the tools, or most of them, they're not all designed this way, but most of the tools on that page are designed to help me dig up, uncover, and dismantle anything that's less than love that's in my mind-body energy system. So that's our intro for today. I'll toss it back to Michele and ask if there's anybody with their hand up or any questions or comments in the chat room we should address. Back to you, Michele.
All right, thank you. That was wonderful, Dr. Tim. Nice overview of how much there is out there that we can use to support ourselves in this process. In the chat room, I wanted to let you know we have a few guests, and Peace is there. And so Peace now understands that you were running both the switchboard and hosting on Tuesday, and so apologized for not being able to keep up with that conversation. But we're making up for lost time. We've got lots of dialogue going on between the two of us right now, and so that's nice. And on the switchboard, Sonny's here, and she's got her hand up. So let's say good afternoon to her. Hi, Sonny.
Hi there. Hi. Dr. Tim, so much of what you're emphasizing today, I just sat and did some of the tapping. I've worked a lot with the mind shifters that Michael had given me regarding my prosperity and abundance, and things have been going just wonderfully. And for some reason this past week and a half to 2 weeks, I don't know what it is, and I'm having a hard time finding it on my own, where it's not really back pain, but it's this muscle tension and mostly like neck and shoulder. And I've evaluated like the shouldering responsibility thing, and it's been, I have orders to fill for my artwork that would normally, I would just fly through them. And I don't know how I'm self-sabotaging if that's the case. I've looked at everything, and I have like numbness in my hands. I don't know if there's like a mind shifter or anything that you're hearing here that would typify. I'm not finding in my worksheets anything to do worksheets on except for just really coming back to being really mad at myself if, like my body's not responding in kind to, I need my body right now.
All right, well, the first thing is what you just said. If you're really mad at yourself, the first and most important thing is to dismantle the mental energy that you're carrying around that says there is something wrong with you and that you should be mad. So the first thing would be anger, worksheets around the emotion of anger because your body's hurting, and canceling the goal of being able to use your body in certain ways to do the artwork or make money or whatever. That's where I would begin, and I would do a host of worksheets on anger. The other thing is, there's just the possibility that if you sat and focused on the sensation that you're calling stiffness or pain or inflammation in your neck or your back or your hands, and just take one area at a time and get as specific as you can about what the sensation is. Let's take the sensation in your neck. And just let yourself document, write down, does it feel hot or cold? Does it feel sharp or dull? Does it have a size? Is it about the size of a marble or a ping pong ball or a softball or a basketball? Does it have a texture? Is it smooth or is it jagged? Does it have a motion to it? Does it seem to be pressing in, pressing out, vibrating, jumping around? And just get as specific as you can and write down whatever you come up with. And then, because now you've been very, very clear with your conscious perception about what this sensation is like, then clear some time where you've got a stack of worksheets with you and sit quietly and focus on the sensation that you've now described and ask the sensation directly, when is the first time you got put into my body? And just breathe and close your eyes and notice what you see. How old are you? Where are you? Who else is there and what's happening? If something comes up, see the scene, notice the emotions that go with it, and do some tapping, breathing, and worksheets on that specific incident. If nothing comes up, you may again visualize the sensation the way you've described it, and then simply talk to the sensation and ask it, what message do you have for me? And be willing to write down whatever images or impressions you have, and then again, notice how you're feeling, and if there's any disruption, use your tapping, the breathing, and the worksheets to dismantle it. That's where I would have you start. After you do a couple worksheets on anger at your body for not letting you be productive.
That makes profound sense, and it's like that's, hopefully I can even find the words for that. It's like, yes, it's dragging that old stuff around into the present when it's not been resolved before.
Okay, but don't find words for it. Don't overthink it. If you want to move from where you are, pick up the tools and use them.
Okay, well, I'm tracking your the brief notes I've taken here is be very specific on the identity and description of the pain, if it's like squeezing, pressing, burning, stabbing, whatever. And then the first time that I felt this, and track that memory.
Yeah, and if you got difficulty with it because it's kind of floating around, just listen to the show again. But for right now, between now and the time the show's over, do a few worksheets on the anger.
Okay.
And then if that is only partially productive and the physical sensation is still there, be as clear as you can about the physical sensation, and then just ask it, when's the first time you got put into my body? And notice what images come up. Don't think about it. Don't try and remember a time when you had that sensation. Just do the experiential exercise, as silly as it might be, of talking to that sensation in your neck and asking it, when is the first time you got put into my body? Take a few breaths and watch what images come up.
Right, and it makes.
And if there's any discomfort that comes up, then you've got all of the above that you can apply to the memory or the emotions or the sensations that come up.
Okay, and then to kind of clarify, as I say, I don't know if this is anger. I do get a little angry and frustrated. It's like that's where I'm at in the moment because of these other things happening is bringing up the anger that I'm not keeping up the pace of filling my orders and doing what I would like and need to be doing right now.
So what we do in this work is all of the above to remove everything that's less than love, so we're back in that state of our focused awareness on our true nature. And then everything else pretty much clears up. So that's why I would put some worksheets on the anger, and then if you want, you can use those little experiential exercises I just outlined to trigger some more information that then again you can use all of the above to dismantle it. So give it a shot and give us a call back and let us know how it's going.
I will, because I guess, you took me someplace entirely different. I guess I was looking more toward the mind shifter and the totality here is that this is just, I seem to bring up things that stop the flow of my prosperity. And, there's nothing like throwing yourself to the mat and blaming it on the body for its lack of, ability to hold up to what you want it to do, to blame, things on. That's what we do. That's the human condition, I guess, is using the body as a tool for what we're not dealing with in our spirit, in our mind, in our heart. But I don't know where I'm at in that there is absolutely no reason that I am not up and flowing and making all of the money that is available for me to make right now, except for whatever I'm throwing in, holding in my body.
Okay.
I could be overworked. There's a very real possibility there. The body is an organism with its own little rules. But
so go ahead and apply the tools and keep us posted about how it goes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. So, Michele,
You too.
do we have anybody else with their hand up or anything interesting going on in the chat room?
Nobody with their hand up right now, so we've got several callers, and if you'd like to press 1, we'll have an opportunity to say hi today. And so somebody, let's see, it looks like Joanna. She called me Ladybug last week. Hello, Ladybug.
Hey, baby, how are you?
Good. Happy Halloween.
Well, happy Halloween to you, and tomorrow's All Saints Day in the Roman Catholic belief system, and I always love that day when all those saints come around and support me. I call them angels.
Oh, that's a good,
I have something interesting to the input that's a little bit different. When we were at Heartland this summer, there was 2 ladies who were of age. One was named Barbara and one was named Joanna, and one will be 83 in November, and one is already 90. And through the time that we've been away from Heartland, we have become very good friends. In fact, we've decided to write a book together, and it's rather interesting. So as we carry on our conversation, we have gotten to be ladies, which society would call us elder, but we find that we're very young at heart. And we have found that our common denominators is that we are still willing to learn and always have been open-minded and willing to learn and make mistakes. And we discussed this yesterday with over a glass of wine on the telephone, which we enjoy. And we came to the conclusion that it's all right to make mistakes as long as you're willing to face them and work through them and try to correct them. And we discovered that we also have been willing to learn always in our lives. And Barbara's learning to play the piano, and I have begun singing again. And we have discovered that we have never lived in the box. We have never followed the rules that society taught us, and that we're not unhappy, we're not miserable, and somewhere in our lives we began to eat very well. So here we are with age on us. We both dye our hair. We both are, if you'll remember, kind of get along with everybody and move through life easy and say what we think, and have become our own people and are still willing to learn and make mistakes. And that's just input. And we decided yesterday we're both really very happy people, and that it's all right to get older and to still have all these things. We would shock you if you heard our conversations, but that would be all right. Maybe we can do that sometime. So that's just input that I wanted to say. I'm not asking any questions. I've discovered that it's okay to get older, in this society and still enjoy my life and still be healthy. And I've observed that the way I have lived my life, I am not in Alzheimer's. I'm not miserable. I'm not upset. And I'm not unhappy. So that's all I have to say. I just thought I'd call you up and tell you that.
Well, thank you, Joanna. That's wonderful input and great advice. One of my favorite teachers is Guy Finley, and he puts forward a spiritual teaching, and he suggests the mantra MAMA, M-A-M-M-A, and it stands for make as many mistakes as allowable. And of course, all manner of mistakes in an unlimited amount are allowable. And that's the only way we learn. So,
exactly.
Great advice. Glad to hear that you're connected with somebody that you have such common spirit with, and it's always good to hear you on the show.
Well, it's always good to hear you. And I have to say something to you. I admire your approach because, you know, in the Course of Miracles, we're taught that we're all students and we're all teachers. Therefore, we're all teachers and we're all students. And nobody knows everything. And it's about sharing our knowledge, and no one certainly owns knowledge. And it's about sharing and mixing and learning and growing forever and ever and ever, because that which we say we are, God, is endless and unlimited. So we don't have to know everything. That's a pretty good place to start, and you aren't going to learn it all in one lifetime. So that kind of eases up some of the mystery. It's all right to hurt, you know. Sometimes you can learn your greatest lessons through having some pain. So I admire your approach to things, and I commend you.
Well, thank
you.
So
I'll go off, and I'll just say hi to both of you, and I hope you have a glorious Halloween and a wonderful All Saints Day.
Well, the same to you. Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you, Joanna. I adore you.
See you later. Love you lots.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
So, Michele, do we have anything of interest going on in the chat room that you want to report, or anyone with their hand up?
Nobody has their hand up right now, and so I will report on the chat room. And I'm going to take this opportunity to share because I've been sharing already with Peace. And I'm going to breathe because I told you I was taking a step today. And I've been doing this work for 5 months. And I went to 2 intensives during the month of August, and it really was helpful to be immersed in practicing forgiveness 24/7 there. And one of the lectures that Michael had presented over the Laws of Living course was this topic of honoring your mother and your father. And that is very difficult for me to do because I have a very difficult mother. And I thought to myself, well, I'll do all the above. I can do all the work, but there's one piece I'm not sure I can even see myself going there. And basically related to growing up as a physically abused and emotionally abused child that continued on through college and young adult. And then when my father passed away 8 years ago, I called home to check on her and my brothers and sisters, and that's when she told me she was done with me. And then she stopped speaking with me and stopped speaking with her grandchildren
the only two grandchildren at the time, my kids. And it's pretty much been like that as far as the status quo for the last 8 years. When I heard the lecture and was really trying to wrap my mind around the concept of how that might look for me, I really can't picture it. I couldn't picture it, and mostly just felt emotional, and I breathed a lot during that session, that lecture, and Rex happened to be sitting next to me that day, and whenever he could notice me touching my breath, I would hear him huffing in my ear, keeping me present too, just moving through the pain that I was feeling about the topic of honoring the mother. So it's been rolling around in my head over the last several weeks because my mom was born on Halloween. And Halloween was a big holiday, and because it's her birthday, there was lots of grandparents and aunts and uncles involved along the years, and just a really great family celebration. So I always tell my clients, courage is defined as being afraid, but then taking action anyways. So I decided that I was going to honor my mother today, and over the last couple of weeks, I found an appropriate card. She actually was a nun before I was born, and I found a funny Halloween card that had a nun theme, which I was tickled because I could feel the universe colluding. And then I came across a beautiful present while shopping with my daughter, unrelated, just found me. And then I put some nice packaging together, and I met my brother. I live in Lansing area, and they live in Detroit area, so he came halfway because I told him I need to get back for my radio show. So I drove down there today and met him and exchanged the presents, and then he carried them back for me. And a card for my sister. She is Down syndrome, and she lives at home, and she's been pulled into this estrangement as well, and that's difficult because she doesn't really completely understand. And so I drove back here, and it was time for radio show, and I was happy for that because I really get a sense of family and the love that was there to maybe support me just sharing this and work through. My brother reported that he caught my mom smiling when she opened the card, and I think I might have mentioned on Tuesday we had done we did group mother worksheets on our Tuesday. Mind Shifter Mitzi initiated that process, and so I'd already done some worksheets earlier this week about my mother. So I just wanted to share all that because it's very difficult, and it's bringing up.
Let me just invite you to stop talking for a moment, or 12, and just breathe. It's okay to cry as long as you keep your breath moving. And just notice what feels tight or tense when you try to breathe. And imagine your breath is going into that area in your throat or your tongue or your jaw or your chest, and soften with the breath whatever wants to be tight or tense or rigid. And just let the thoughts be and let the emotions be, and give up trying to formulate words for it and just breathe. And then I want to invite you to ask Ruka whether or not there's anything else you need to say, and ask for guidance about whether or not you just stay in your breath and move some energy, or whether or not it's appropriate to say anything else, because you've already given us a magnificent gift, and there isn't any need for any further explanation or any attempt to fix it. And just notice what you feel when you just stay with those thoughts and that intensity, and you breathe. And to whatever degree possible, we are holding the space of love and connectedness. And to whatever degree possible, you can shift your focus to your true nature as that energy of love. You can focus on what it was like to hold your children when they were newborn. And you can remind yourself that is your true nature. And just sit and breathe and process that for a minute or more. Because that is what this work is about. And as you do that, and everybody who's listening holds the space, because we all have thumbprints of life, of relationships that try to distract us from our true nature. And we can all use the time to just sit and focus on our true nature, reconnect our conscious awareness to our true being as love and the energy of creation. And this is a gift you're giving this radio show today and yourself. So whenever you're ready, you can either let me know that there's something you'd like to say or share, or that I should just move on with the rest of the show. But I want you to know that I, for one, am quite grateful that you have chosen to share, and happy for you that you're actually looking at some ways to dismantle some of the negative energies that you've collected around your interactions with your mother all these years. So, whenever you're ready, let me know if there's anything else you would like to share.
Oh, okay. So I muted because I wanted to not interrupt what you were saying, so I apologize there. I do thank you for holding the space, and also for all the listeners who've been holding space, especially my Laws of Living accountability partner, Susan, and Mitzi, who did a great job coaching the worksheet on Tuesday. A couple comments are that similar, it was funny what you said about me holding my firstborn child, because when I was doing step 4, it was a fascinating combination for me, getting in touch with my love and my ability to generate that towards my baby, mixed in with what it feels like is her inability to do it towards me. And so I know there is healing going on, and I appreciate the venue here to talk about it. And I also am grateful I have a new client who's listening to the radio show. And so we've been talking over just a few sessions about forgiveness work, and so now he knows his therapist has issues, which is kind of funny, but oh well. You know, I hope that embraces him to trust me more and know that I understand sometimes when the work is difficult, and then having the willingness to experience the physical, emotional, mental pain and healing symptoms to move back to our true nature love. So, and Peace, thank you, because he was encouraging me in the chat room before we were talking about this a little bit, so thank you as well. My Laws of Living partner, Richard and Magda, are listening, so I want to shout out to them. I mean, that's a very big sense of community here. Okay, Dr. Chen, that's good. We got 7 minutes left.
Okay, then. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I know that there are all of the above tools that you can use to move this forward. And one of the things that I use frequently when I'm dealing with people who have similar issues is, because you're able to remember and tap into your loving energy for your child, you might try to imagine what someone would have to do to you, what kinds of pain you would have to be feeling and trying to run away from in order for somebody to try and get you to treat your children the way you feel you've been treated by your mother. And that can be a wonderful insight for you into the next step in honoring your parents. The idea about honoring our parents that Michael talks about in his lecture is not that we just wipe away everything they did and say, oh, they were fine, oh, everything was perfect, oh, they truly loved me. The idea behind honoring my parents is realizing that any time I withhold love from anyone or anything, that energy of creation that I am, if I'm withholding it from someone else, I must first block myself from my awareness of my true nature. I must first enter into the dream of separation and once again engage in the primary mechanism which causes all of my psychological and emotional pain. And that is to pretend that we're not all connected and pretend that I'm better than or worse than any other being that's ever lived. So the process of honoring my parents in that lecture that Michael talks about, which is, and it's an ancient scriptural advice to honor your parents. And the idea there is not to turn a blind eye to their actions and say whatever they choose to do is fine, but it is to be fully awake and aware in the moment and understand that no one has ever done anything angry, hurtful, bitter, resentful, or insulting to any other person, much less their own child, unless they were in pain first. And if I withhold my awareness of my true nature as love and the energy of love in creation from anyone or anything, I must first block myself from my awareness of its true nature, and I must first create pain within myself. So as I learn to hold the space of love for myself, to see my true nature as that energy of creation and love, and then I learn to hold the image of anyone or anything that may resonate painful, bad, hurtful, confusing memories within me, as I focus sending that energy to that person, it's going directly through the part of my mind and my body that is in need of healing. And I heal first by staying and strengthening my conscious awareness of my true nature as the energy of love. So I just want to be clear about this. There's nothing in that admonition about honor your parents that says just ignore anger, bitter, hurtful, resentful behaviors. Just pretend nothing happened. There's nothing in this work that says pretend things haven't happened. This work is about being able to go open-eyed with a clarity of vision and wisdom that my conscious mind cannot approximate, but to go open-eyed with a clarity of vision and wisdom into every circumstance, regardless of what it might trigger me to focus on in my own pain, sadness, fear. And in doing so, I go into every situation with the highest and best information, with the highest and best connection to my intuitive source, and with my focus solidly on my true nature as the energy of love. And as we do that, moment by moment, day by day, interaction by interaction, we make this world a better place. And I encourage you and support you in doing that. Thank you all for being here. Please join us again tomorrow and all next week, and have the best year yet of your eternal life. Thanks, Michele.